After breaking down the AFC conference for the past couple of weeks on a Nation Sports Show, tonight we continue our 2022 NFL season previews as we now switch over to the NFC conference. Up first, the NFC South and the NFC North, plus the latest news in the NBA, MLB, and so much more. It's showtime.
From the gridiron to the court, talking all that is sport. Representing busted up a nation, bring to you our Nation Sports Show. Here are your hosts, Ezra Vickery, Joey Thornton, Kevin Rory, Randy Guy, and Stephen Wyand.
Coast to coast and around the world, we are live for another outstanding edition of our Nation Sports Show live here on YouTube. I am your host for this evening, Stephen Wyand, joined by my phenomenal crew on this show as always. And before we get to those fine folks on with me tonight, let's plug the social media boys. Up first, Twitter machine on Twitter at ON_sports show. Facebook.com/Nation Sports Show, and on our brand spanking new YouTube URL at YouTube.com/Our Nation Sports Show. And man, we got an action-packed show for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, talking about all things sports, the crazy stuff in the NBA, the NFL, and whatever we decide to talk about. And also, you can follow the Nation's Corner on Twitter at Nation's Corner and everywhere else on the social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. It is at the Nation's Corner. And now that the bills are, I guess, paid, let's introduce these fine folks on with me tonight. Up first, no, girls, he is not Justin Timberlake, but he is somehow, some way, I don't know how, don't know why, he is a Washington Commanders football fan. He is Joey Thornton. JT, what's going on, brother?
What is going on, everybody? Hope everybody's having an amazing Taco Tuesday. For me, I didn't have any tacos. I had Sloppy Joes earlier, but I digress. But
Sloppy Joe.
I hope you guys are ready for our first part of our NFC conference preview. So without further ado, let's get to it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And coming on here just in time. No, LeBron, he didn't leave. He showed up, actually, unlike you do one time. And you too, Kevin Durant. Anyways, he shows up on time 2 minutes before we go live. He is a Las Vegas Raiders fan. He's also a fellow metal brother, as well as I am. And Ezra, who is not here tonight, he is out having a lovely dinner with his family, which is awesome. And with that being said, he is a Raiders fan, metalhead, my brother from another mother. He is Randy Giron. Randy, what's going on, brother?
Hey, what's going on tonight? Just happy to be here. Hope everybody's doing well out there, and it's excited to get to do some talking about some great stuff with you guys tonight. And as Joey said, let's get to it.
You know who's also, Randy, excited? Your cat, Sprocket. That's right, because your cat gets to make TV time again. Also, last certainly, but not least, the introduction for this man. Last week, I think we're still recovering from this epic proportions of a rant on one Kevin Durant. He is a San Francisco 49ers fan. He's also a longtime Eminem Slim Shady fan. And we heard one of the shittiest news stories today that the game had a diss track of stupid proportions that I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about at some point on this show, because why the hell not? But with that being said, Kevin Rory, what's up, brother?
What's going on, everybody? It's good to be here tonight. And yeah, about the Kevin Durant situation, I don't want to talk about the circus no more. But then I remember we're talking about the NFC South today, so hell, might as well. Same thing. Circus on circus. So let's get to it.
Oh, yeah. With that being said, let's get the crappy situation out of the way. That's the NFC stuff. I mean, come on. I mean, the teams are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Atlanta Falcons, the Carolina Panthers, and the New Orleans Saints. And I'll start out with this one. I mean, it is no surprise, guys, that the NFC South is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers division to lose. And there's no way that they should lose this division, considering that Tom Brady is back under center. Sorry, Randy, your nightmare is still coming to fruition. That TB12 is still playing the game of football that we all love and know, and he might win his 8th Super Bowl. Sorry about that. Sorry, for your condolences, and all that stuff of your so-called fandom for Tom Brady. But that's another story for another day. We know you love Tom Brady. We know you do. Anyways, so we know that Tom Brady is returning for another season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and acquiring Julio Jones off the free agency market is insane. I mean, the Bucs are loaded. Chris Godwin, Jones, Mike Evans. No Gronk for you, but that's okay because TB12 doesn't need Gronkowski no more. He's got a young core of receivers, with this team. And Jones is a veteran. He's been in the league for what, 10, 11 years? This will be like his 11th year, I think. And I'm looking for Jones to have an outstanding year with his first year with Tampa Bay. It'll probably be a slow start, in my opinion, but it would not surprise me if Julio Jones is one of Tom Brady's favorite targets this year. And something that's not going to be good this year, I'm sorry, but it's going to be the dumpster fire that is the Atlanta Falcons. Matt Ryan is no longer with this team. Matt Ryan is gone to Indianapolis, and for that, the Falcons will pay the ultimate price of being towards the bottom of the NFL. And I really don't think Atlanta's going to be good this year. I mean, at best, they're going to have 5 to 6 wins, but at worst, they're going to be probably 3 to 4 wins. Sorry, Atlanta. Speaking of not sorry, but the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints are going to be probably not as good again. Well, you know what? I'm feeling a little generous tonight, folks. So, I mean, let's face it, guys. If Winston did not get injured last year, I honestly think that they would have had a pretty good spot, maybe get into the postseason. But that didn't happen because the ACL injury that Winston had, and the Saints just faltered down the stretch. Now, they had a fighting chance making the playoffs, but they didn't make it because of San Francisco beating the Rams in the final week of the NFL season last year. So the Saints barely missed it by the skin of their teeth, and they were on the outside looking in, unfortunately. And I think that if Winston can stay healthy, I really think that maybe they'll have a chance. Maybe, you know what? I think they're going to have 7 to 8 wins maybe this year, maybe. But at worst, they'll probably have 5 or 6. And speaking of the worst, the Carolina Panthers. Oh, dear Jesus almighty. You guys are screwed with a capital S. I mean, you have Baker Mayfield as your quarterback and Sam Darnold is your second best option? I'm sorry, but you are screwed for life. And the Carolina Panthers will finish dead last in the NFC South this upcoming year. And I'm going to say it right now. The Carolina Panthers will be 3-14. They're going to suck. They're going to be the dumpster fire of the NFC this year, just like the New York Jets will be the dumpster fire. Either them or the Jacksonville Jaguars will be the dumpster fire in the AFC this season. So with that being said, with my take, just go around the table here first. Joey, what are your thoughts on the NFC South?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If Tom Brady had not come back for another season down in Tampa, Florida, the NFC South would have probably been the weakest division in all of the NFC conferences in football. And that is just my first take right there. But yeah, now that Tom Brady is back, it is the Buccaneers division to lose. And I can guarantee you, based on the talent, oh wait, I'm thinking about something else. Speaking on basis of the other teams, not talent, but the other teams that are in the NFC South, it will be an absolute shocker if Tampa does not win this division. Because, I mean, think about it. You got Tampa Bay, you got Tom Brady, you got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Russell Gage, who hopefully will come back from his hamstring injury pretty soon. Julio Jones, who's primed to have a breakout year with a good quarterback under his name. Yes, and yes, I said great quarterback. Sorry, Ryan Tannehill, you weren't the answer, and you still ain't. But I digress. But yeah, Julio Jones looking for a breakout season. You got Leonard Fournette manning that backfield. Tampa Bay has so much talent on the offensive side of the ball, and they got some defensive talent too. I happened to see something earlier today that the Buccaneers have now signed former Las Vegas Raider Carl Nassib to their squad. So that's a much needed boost to Tampa's defense right there. And plus, with all the other amazing talent that Tampa Bay has on the defensive side of the ball, it would be an absolute shocker if Tampa Bay does not win this division. Now, I know in the AFC conferences, I went from the bottom up, but for the NFC South and only the NFC South, I'm going to make an exception. I'm going to go from the top to bottom. So we all know Tampa Bay is going to win the division hands down. Second place is going to be, of course, New Orleans, because Jameis Winston is coming back. Alvin Kamara is, of course, going to be the workhorse of that backfield. Michael Thomas, after being out for the full year last year, is finally making his return to the roster, to the field. So we'll see if Michael Thomas can reach his old year's form before he got hit with the injury bug. And the Saints on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, I said they look okay, but they don't look like top 10-ish or top 15-ish. I mean, the Saints, though, I mean, they're obviously a lot better than the other two teams I'm about to talk about. So the Saints are going to finish in second, hands down. Third place is going to be the Atlanta Falcons. Now, the only reason I'm not putting Atlanta down on the bottom because of all the talent that they lost in the offseason is because of one other team that I'm about to talk about here in just a minute. But Matt Ryan, he's gone from Atlanta. Matty Ice has now moved on to Indianapolis, where he is going to be throwing to receivers like Michael Pittman and I believe T.Y. Hilton is still back there in Indianapolis. I'm not for sure about that, but he's also going to be handed off to one of the greatest running backs in the game. That, of course, is Jonathan Taylor. But back to the Atlanta side of things, you got Marcus Mariota, who's going to be stepping in as the starter. And, I mean, Mariota, he could have been a good quarterback if he could be a good quarterback if he wants to. But some people may say that he probably hasn't even been given much of a chance. But, I mean, we've seen Mariota play for teams such as Tennessee and Oakland/Las Vegas. Mariota just didn't have the talent behind him. He just didn't have it. And now he's going to be a little bit left out of the dust again this year because, well, he ain't got nobody to throw to. I mean, Atlanta doesn't have a single receiver, I believe, on their roster that has had much NFL game experience. The only one I could probably think of is Olamide Zaccheaus. And everybody's probably thinking, who the heck is that? I mean, he hasn't really put himself out there. And I realize that Marcus Mariota is not the best quarterback, but I mean, who knows what we might see out of them this year. And I mean, even if Mariota does struggle, they got the rookie from the Cincinnati Bearcats, Desmond Ridder, right there behind him. So who knows what's going to happen there. And now, the last place team, the Carolina Panthers. Oh, sorry, I'm saying the word wrong. It's the Carolina Pussycats. It's the Carolina Pussycats. That's the right name for them. Because, I mean, come on. think about it. Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold are the two quarterbacks who have thrown the most interceptions since 2018. And yet you got them both on the exact same team that lacks true talent, that only has one true legitimate wide receiver in DJ Moore. You got a washed up or almost a washed up has-been receiver in Robbie Anderson. And most importantly, you got a freaking running back / wide receiver / whatever the heck he wants to be, who can't even stay healthy on the field to save his life in Christian McCaffrey. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, when he was first drafted by Carolina, everybody thought that he was going to be this amazing pass-catching running back who would just light up team defenses and get yards all over the field. But ever since he got hit with the injury bug, Christian McCaffrey has not been the same. And I don't see a comeback happening this year because that injury is always going to be nagging Christian McCaffrey where people see it or not. And I can guarantee you that Christian McCaffrey is not going to play a full season. Yeah, he may be seen as a number 2 running back in all fantasy world, and I don't see why, because he's been hit with the injury bug the past 2 to 3 seasons, which has kept him off the field, obviously. But the Panthers, they are just a bunch of hot garbage all around the NFC South, and they are going to be stinking up the field as they always do because they ain't got no talent. And all I can say is y'all better get a glass of milk, pussycats, because y'all are going to be drinking it as well as having a box of Kleenex right by your side because that's where y'all are going to be come playoff time. On the couch, crying your ears and crying your eyes out. So I'm telling you, the Carolina Pussycats, just give up now while y'all can. I'm being for real. Give up now.
Do it now. I mean, come on. I mean, Carolina is going to be so bad this year that it made Kevin leave the meeting for a second because that's how his internet was crappy for a second because that's how bad the Pan. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyways, Randy, what do you think about the NFC South?
Well, I mean, it's a 3-team race for me. Because there's only I only know there's only 3 teams in that division.
Don't you do it.
There's only 3 teams in that division for why, which is weird. I mean, I don't understand.
Don't do this to me.
So I'm going to go with New Orleans is going to win this division, I think.
You gotta be kidding
and 10 wins.
Oh man!
Oh dear God! Worst take on the sports show this year.
And then after that is Atlanta. I think they're going to win about maybe 6 to 7 games, and then Carolina. In Baker we trust. I wonder how
really
how that win Cleveland. So so. I'd say 3 and however many of the games they got, 14. That's my take on the South. There's only 3 teams, so that went fast.
All right. Oh man,
just like your take went fast. Yeah, and it's really bad. Anyways,
terrible.
Your hatred for team is stronger than all.
Yeah, whenever they get another team in the South, let me know and I'll talk about them. But until then. Kevin, back to you.
Jan, Kevin, give us your thought on the lonesome NFC South division.
Well, just like its counterpart, the AFC South, it's complete.
Jan,
1-team race with 3 trash bags of the other teams.
Now, hold up, Kevin. It's 1 team and 3 teams with all trash cans.
Yes, basically. Here's the thing. Tampa's going to be Tampa. Okay, they got Brady. I don't care how old he is. He's done proved what he's proved. Signing Julio Jones isn't going to be put them as a supernova team because Julio Jones can't play more than 3 games without tearing his hamstring and missing the next 20 games. So he'll be out by week 5.
Kevin, basically, Julio Jones is the NFL's version of Kevin Nash. Can't stay healthy.
Yes. And my thing is, we've seen it last year some when they got humiliated by the Rams. They have no offensive line outside of Tristan Wirfs. They lost their all-pro center to a torn ACL. Remember that. Then Leonard Fournette, this guy come into camp looking like Eddie Lacy, weighing 500 pounds, looking like the Big Show out there playing running back. So we don't really know what their running game's going to look like. But all we know is they got to play Carolina twice a year and Atlanta twice a year. And hell, they're already about at 500 just by playing the other teams all right there. But I got Tampa winning that division because we got to remember, too, they had a top 5 to 7 defense in the NFL last year. They didn't lose nobody. They lost Ndamukong Suh, but they upgraded. Remember, they signed what's his name? Akeem, somebody from Chicago. Akeem Hicks. They signed Akeem Hicks.
Yep.
A former 5-6-time Pro Bowler there. So Tampa's just reloaded again on defense. They're going to win about, I'm going to say 11 games. 11 to 12 because of how easy. I'm going to say 11. And here's why. That division is about to get bullied this year because all 4 of those teams have to go and play the NFC West this year. So Tampa's got to deal with San Francisco and the Rams twice and the Cardinals and the Sea Chickens, even the Sea Chickens. And the Sea Chickens are 10 times better than the Falcons, for crying out loud. So Atlanta, Carolina, and New Orleans is about to catch hell playing the NFC West. Second, I got the Saints. Their ceiling and their floor is so high, like they can win 9 to 10 games. We don't know what James Winston we're going to get. Are we going to get the Winston that throws for 6,000 yards? Or are we going to go get the Winston that throws 41 interceptions and gets picked off every time he turns around?
Yep.
And here's another thing we didn't mention on the show that I'd like to bring up real quick. Alvin Kamara is not likely to face any kind of punishment from the NFL from that incident that left a man on life support. That goes back to how kind of much of a fucked up system the NFL has anyway. But that's for another topic for another day. So they're going to have Alvin Kamara. Michael Thomas is going to come back healthy. And I'd like to correct something Joey said just for a second. The Saints actually were 10th in the league in defense. And here's some additions that we didn't mention. They signed the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, as their starting safety.
Right.
That's a key addition.
That's right.
They lost Marcus Williams to the Ravens for a max deal at safety, but they upgraded by getting Tyrann Mathieu and Marcus May at safety. So their defense they'll probably still be a top 10 defense. The only thing, like I said, is I don't trust Jameis because he's the older vet version of Baker Mayfield, for crying out loud. You see grapes and spurts, and then you see he absolutely sucks the next game. But I trust Jameis and his offense more than I do this next team. And yes, I said it, these 2 dumpster fires. Pick your poise. I'm just going to base it off like realistic stats. I'm actually going to say Carolina's going to be 3rd, and it's going to be by margin way down the list. They're going to win. I'm going to say they win 4 to be nice because they might get both over Atlanta. I don't know. Because you got to remember what all Atlanta lost and who all Atlanta picked up. They picked up absolute dog shit, and they lost every fucking body. So Atlanta's basically, I'm going to say Atlanta only wins 2 games this year, guys. I think they go 2-14 because, or no, 2-15. They're that bad. Like, they literally have no coach. They got Marcus Mariota as their savior. That ain't gonna work. They ain't got no running back. They lost Calvin Ridley for the year, but I don't know how that works. He gambles on a game and gets suspended the whole season. But Alvin Kamara beats the hell out of somebody and puts them in on near-death experience, and he can play. Yeah, you forget it. Anyway, Atlanta's not going to be shit. Their defense is shit. They're shit. They're dog shit. Like The Rock said, dog shit. That's Atlanta. Carolina's cat shit. Either way, you got shit and shit. Carolina might win 4 games. I'm going to say 4 at best. because I do think that Carolina's defense is better than Atlanta's. They got a good secondary. I'll give them that. Poor coaching, but a good secondary. J.C. Horn is a good corner. Their defense overall, dog shit. But Baker is the biggest letdown I have ever seen who thinks he's something good. He's a fucking sober Johnny Manziel. Congratulations. What do you want, a cookie or something? You're not going to do nothing. And from the reports I read, I'd like to make this known. The reports I read, Sam Darnold had a better training camp than Baker Mayfield. But I guarantee Baker's going to start. But that's just funny. This is the same guy who sees ghosts, throws 10 picks, gets pulled after one series, and he has a better training camp than Baker Mayfield. Oh, my goodness. I'm honestly, in this division, I'm about to hold my own Calvin Ridley. In respect to Calvin Ridley, I'm going to gamble myself. Listen. Who's gonna get hurt first? Julio Jones or Christian McCaffrey? Let's have that bet, because I guarantee I'm willing to say Christian McCaffrey gets hurt first. Christian McCaffrey is going to end up on IR in 3. Kawhi Leonard's played more games in the last 2 years than Christian McCaffrey. Holy shit. And he don't play. Klay Thompson's played more in his 270-something days off of basketball than Christian McCaffrey's played in 3 years. The Panthers are hot garbage. It's the Bucs division to win. The Bucs can literally sleep all year until they play the NFC West and win the division. The Saints are going to win. Honestly, Steven, you make a good point. You said the Saints were also close to making the playoffs. Yeah, they were.
Yep.
But I got them missing this year. I really do, because there's so many other teams I'd put up there. And we're going to talk about this next division that I got some teams I want to talk about. But I just don't think the Saints are going to be good at some of them teams. I really don't. Because when you factor in the NFC West, that's going to take up 1 to 2 wild card spots then. Yep. So you're telling me that the Saints have to be better than 4 or 5 other teams that I know is going to be better than New Orleans.
And they're playing the NFC West, like you said.
Do what?
And they're playing the NFC West, like you said at the top of your
they're going to get beat up.
Exactly.
And Alvin Kamara's going to get beat up. And he'll be hurt too. I'm sure he's not the healthiest damn guy in the box. He gets hurt. And Michael Thomas missed about as much days as Klay Thompson had.
Yep.
I mean, he's missed like 2 years, for crying out loud. I'm crying about a contract, this and that. The Saints, like I said, they're going to be all right. They're all right. I think Tampa's got a cakewalk. It's like the AFC South. It's fucking hot garbage. And if you want my honest opinion, the NFC South is the worst division in the conference. And I would say the NFC East is better than them, just because the additions, obviously, with Philadelphia. But the NFC South is straight shit. And the NFC North, West, and East are all better than this conference.
Who would have thought that the NFC East would be better than the NFC South? Because the NFC East used to be one of the worst conferences ever in the National Football League for years.
Yep. Now it's somehow to be the damn workhorse of the AFC beside the West.
Yep.
It's in the top 3 conferences of all of football, I'd say. Now you got the NFC South, who used to be good. We used to see Drew Brees and Sean Payton and all them in Atlanta, and we used to see them battling it out. Now it's just who can be the hottest pile of dog shit in the NFC South this year. That's all.
Well, Kevin, I have to say that your take on the NFC South was
excellent.
Well, at least mine was excellent, because they're dog shit.
Yes. Hey, but I got to say though, real quick, in reference to one of Ezra's videos with Kevin saying the Panthers might have 4 wins. I can't believe you've done this.
Yeah.
Just trying to be a little realistic. Even the blind squirrel can find a nut someday. They might find 4 of them bitches, but they'll lose.
Hey, you're saying there's another team in that division? Oh, I'm sorry. I still stand by my take. Okay. Anyways.
Randy, come on.
Oh, right. I'll tell you. Okay, I got it. The Tampa Bay
I
Rays
think that
will
team went
do
to the
good.
USFL, Randy.
What the hell?
Tampa Bay Rays will win a lot
Man,
of
man,
games this
stop.
year.
Just stop. We know your hatred for Tom Brady is strong. We know it is. Come on. Ready.
Ever since the Tuck Rule 21
Huh?
years ago, this man has had a sincere
Oh,
hatred for Tom Brady.
Sorry, hold on. All right, I'm sorry. Miami team, right?
Oh, dear God.
Dude,
He's no
stop.
longer in that division, bro.
Okay, Miami Heat will
Sir,
win their.
they're going to choke in the NBA playoffs again next year.
Oh, okay. Well, Jimmy.
No, you know what? No, you know what? I think we should do a live poll right now here on our nation sports show. And like how they've been doing the celebrity boxing matches. If everybody wants to see Randy Giron versus Tom Brady in the boxing match, say aye. Because I'm a vote on that one. I want to see that one.
I'm gonna load up
Randy
my.
versus Tom Brady.
He'll deflate you quicker than he did those footballs.
Yeah, I'm gonna load my glove up with six pairs of brass nuts.
Hey, I will say though, if Randy does step into a boxing ring with Tom Brady, he might actually get to see his fight live. Unlike Antonio Brown, seeing himself play live.
It won't be much of a thing. I'm just gonna punch him right in the nuts, and then that'll be it.
I don't know. His wife and his kids might not like that.
Well, yeah, it's bad enough. They gotta know that guy enough. I'll do them a favor.
Anyways, moving on to the NFC North.
Well, thank you for that segue there, Joey. Anyway, so moving on to the NFC North. And the NFC North is going to be a very interesting division this year because Aaron Rodgers has returned to the Green Bay Packers when we thought that Rodgers was going to be gone after another choke job against San Francisco last year in the divisional rounds against the 49ers. And let's face it, I mean, this is Green Bay's division to lose again. And, you know, Rodgers, as long as he continues to perform at a high level, Green Bay will win that division again. They'll make it to the playoffs. And sorry, Green Bay, you're going to lose again in the playoffs because we don't trust your quarterback in a big spot. But I think Green Bay is going to have at least 11 to 12 wins. I think, this is the interesting one because I don't know who's worse, a worse second. I don't know if it's Chicago or the fact that Minnesota last year couldn't finish worth a shit, all the close games, the heartbreaks, the wins that they did have, the choke jobs that the Vikings had last year was true Minnesota fashion. Congratulations, Vikings. You deserved to miss the playoffs last year. And unfortunately for Vikings fans, I think the Vikings will miss the playoffs again this year. I mean, come on. I mean, Kirk Cousins, he is so up and down. I mean, the defense is up and down. The offense is up and down. Cook can't stay healthy. Adam Thielen can't stay healthy at times. I mean, it's just this Vikings team, they have talent, but they don't know how to be a consistent football team, and they haven't been a consistent football team in God knows how long. I mean, if Cook can't stay healthy, if Thielen can't stay healthy, if the defense can't play consistent, I mean, I just don't think the Vikings are going to be, they're not going to be, really that good this year. This division is so weak. I mean, I don't know who's going to come in second or third between them and Chicago because Chicago's no better. I mean, they got rid of Matt Nagy, but still, I mean, Justin Fields is a young quarterback. This will be his second year. And it'll be rather interesting to see how Chicago does with him this year without Nagy being the head coach and being the head cancer of that organization, running them into the dumpster fire. And coincidentally, Justin Fields last year in the first game when Nagy went out with COVID last year, he had a hell of a game and Chicago won the game. Oh, imagine that. When Minnesota last year had a lot of ups and downs, and also the Detroit Lions were probably the worst, 2 to 3 win football team, but they were honestly one of the best 2 to 3 win football teams because at least they were in these games. Detroit actually fought, tried, scratched and clawed. And, when they tried so hard and they got some wins, but they lost a lot of games, but at least Detroit did not go out without a fight. And they did the best thing they did last year. You know what that was? Tie the Pittsburgh Steelers. How the hell do you do that? Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, Pittsburgh last year, how do you tie Detroit? I mean, you should have beat them last year, but you didn't. You blew that opportunity. Detroit will be last this year again. Jared Goff will be not good this year. I mean, Goff, I mean, it's the best thing that it's the worst thing that can happen to Detroit. Your best quarterback leaves Detroit in his first year, goes to the Rams and wins the Super Bowl in his first year. That is the only time Detroit will see a ring with any of their players. It's about other players leaving that organization and going to find greener pastures and having better success. So if I'm gonna talk about these divisions, this division, I honestly think if I'm flipping a coin, I think it's going to be Chicago at number 2, and then Minnesota at number 3, and then Detroit dead last. I mean, because let's face it. I mean, sorry, Ezra, but Aaron Rodgers once again will own Chicago once again. He will be dominant like he always is against Chicago, and then he will falter under pressure. Chicago, I think will be pretty good this year. It's just a matter of staying healthy and Justin Fields getting his feet wet, and really, getting his arm and his consistent, down, and all that stuff. And it's going to be rather interesting to see how Chicago does. And Kirk Cousins, I mean, listen, this guy, if you honestly want my opinion with this guy, Cousins is, to me, he is the Jameis Winston of the NFC South. I mean, North. Excuse me. That's how shitty this division is. I said the South twice. NFC North, I meant. So Kirk Cousins, I mean, in the NFC North division, he is so up and down. I mean, 1 week he's throwing for 400 yards. Then the next week he's throwing for 125 yards, throwing multiple picks after multiple picks. And I honestly think that the Vikings are going to be, at best, maybe a 7-win team. But at worst, they're going to be a 5-win team. I think Chicago is going to have at least 7 to 8 wins. At worst, they'll have 5 or 6. And the Detroit Lions are going to be, honestly, 2-15. They're not going to be good this year. Green Bay, I think, wins 11 games, wins the NFC North again, and then again, they'll falter in the playoffs. And now let's go around the room for all of y'all's takes. And up first, Randy, what are your thoughts on the NFC North, brother?
Hey, thanks. I think it's Green Bay's to lose. Green Bay always finds a way to win when it doesn't matter. When it comes playoff time, they're non-existent. But he's going to have some. Aaron Rodgers. He's going to have some good young weapons to throw to, and I think, like I said, it's theirs to lose. They'll have at least 12 wins. But I think Vikings, as far as they go, it's going to be interesting because they do have. There's some talent there, and they just can't keep healthy. Can't stay healthy, and can't keep the same team together for long because Cook gets hurt, and those guys, and Thielen gets hurt a lot as well. But they got a new head coach and new philosophy, new system. So we'll have to wait and see with them. But I'm thinking they're going to at least 10 or 11 wins. Chicago is going to surprise some people this year, I think. Justin Fields has the makings of being a good quarterback in this league. That's not just from me saying that from his Buckeye ties, but he's still got a lot of intangibles that I think hopefully the new coach works with him on and helps his progression. And then Detroit, is that right? Tiger, not the Tigers though, right? Lions.
No, they're terrible too.
Yeah, they're going to be in last, but I think they're going to win more than 2 games. They're going to surprise some people too. They got some grit and some moxie, as they say.
He's got moxie.
I could be wrong, and I can't believe I'm going to say that they're actually going to do remotely good. But I could say what I want to say and give them negative wins. But but I think they'll do well. They're looking a little bit better, but they're still Detroit. So that's how I feel about that.
And that's that. There's nothing we can do about it. Joey, what are your thoughts on the NFC North?
I think this actually might be a toss-up between the NFC North and the NFC East to see which division will be just up above the NFC South. The NFC North, it can be wide open if it wants to be. It really can be because you got some good teams over there who know how to play some consistent football, unlike Minnesota, which I'll get to them in just a minute.
Poor
But
Minnesota.
yeah, poor Minnesota. I'm going to go back to my bottom to top because that's just how I like to do things. I just did it for the NFC South because Carolina's just a bunch of hot garbage. But anyway, yeah, I think Detroit, they are going to finish last again this year. But I will say, though, considering that Detroit spent their first 2 first-round picks of the draft on one a bona fide defensive specialist who was a finalist in the Heisman Trophy competition, that being Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan. And plus, now, later on in the first round, Detroit nabbed one of the best slot wide receivers in the college football world last year. That, of course, being Alabama's Jamison Williams. I think those 2 guys could very well make an impact in their first year. So, yeah, I think Detroit is still going to finish last, but I don't see this as a garbage year for Detroit. I'm seeing this as more of a rebuilding year. Now, do I think they're going to eventually get to the status of a Green Bay Packers, or if they have more talent on the defensive side of the ball, a Minnesota Vikings? No, I don't think so. But I do see that Detroit has potential. They do have potential to make a splash in the coming years. As long as they can get the best players, as long as they can get the best players and keep them on the field, I think Detroit could very well make a splash after a few years' time. Now, it is a toss-up for me between second and third. But for third place, I'm actually going to go with Chicago. And the reason I say that is because Minnesota, even though they have an up and down Kirk Cousins, I'll get to them in just a minute. I think Justin Fields still has a lot of improving to do. I mean, do I think he had a great rookie season last year? Absolutely. I mean, Fields had one of the best rookie seasons that I possibly ever seen wearing a Chicago Bears uniform. But I think he still has some room to improve. Now, I will say, though, he is already facing one huge improvement since he doesn't have the cancer of Matt Nagy around in the locker room anymore, like you mentioned, Steven. But I still think Justin Fields and the defense on the side of the ball has some work to do. And as of this point, there's no telling if linebacker Roquan Smith is going to be a part of Chicago because he has made headlines, or he made headlines a couple weeks ago saying that he wants out of Chicago because he's saying that the front office doesn't value him as a strong asset to the defensive side of the ball. And that right there would be a huge hit for Chicago if they do trade him because Roquan Smith has been the modern day Brian Urlacher of the Chicago Bears defensive line.
That's a good thing.
He has been the modern day Brian Urlacher of the Chicago Bears defensive line since he got drafted back in 2018. So if the Bears trade Roquan Smith, that is going to be a huge hit for Chicago.
Yeah, because Smith was before you continue, Smith was one of the best young players in the NFL on the defensive side of the ball, even on a struggling team in Chicago. And if he goes away from Chicago and gets traded to another team, that is going to be a huge loss for Chicago because if any Super Bowl contending team or team that is trying to vow for a playoff spot, if they get him, man, that is going to be a huge weapon on defense. Go ahead.
I will say, though, we will happily take Roquan Smith in DC. We'll make something out of him. But anyways, yeah, that means
don't go to Dallas. Sorry, Cowboy fans.
Yeah. Besides, the Cowboys just signed Anthony Barr. They don't need another linebacker. But anyway, that leaves Minnesota as my number 2. And the reason is because, yeah, Kirk Cousins is up and down. You never know what to expect out of Kirk Cousins. And yes, the injury bug has been hitting Minnesota over the past number of years with Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook missing some time, but you can't underestimate the talent that Thielen and Dalvin Cook bring to the table. I mean, you can't underestimate them.
When
Because
they're healthy.
when they're healthy, Thielen and Cook can be legitimate threats. And plus, you got one of the best young wide receivers in the game in Justin Jefferson. And you got a legitimate running back who he doesn't put up Dalvin Cook's type of numbers, but Alexander Madison. I mean, he's back there learning from Dalvin Cook, and eventually I would be surprised if Madison goes on to another team somewhere and becomes an absolute bona fide superstar, because Madison he could be a legit running back if he's given the right opportunity. And seeing as how he's learning the playbook from Dalvin Cook, I mean, it can only be a matter of time before Madison moves on to another team and becomes an absolute superstar, because he has that potential in him. And on the defensive side of the ball, Minnesota, they can look pretty stacked if they want to be. I think Linval Joseph is still back there, man of the defensive side of the ball. So that's a huge boost for Minnesota. I can't really think of anybody else Minnesota has on the defensive side of the ball that truly stands out. But I think Minnesota has the potential to, I'll give them 8-9 wins this season, maybe 10 if they have, if they can hang with some of these teams that they got on their schedule this year. And that, of course, leaves number one, the Green Bay Packers, the Cheeseheads, who have been known for so many years as one of the biggest playoff chokers in the history of NFL football. Yes, Aaron Rodgers, or should I say Karen Rodgers, I'm talking to you. Anyway, the Packers, they may have lost one of their best wide receivers ever in Devontae Adams, joining with him being traded to Las Vegas. But Green Bay, you still can't underestimate them, because on the defensive side of the ball, they look pretty stacked. On the offensive side of the ball, Aaron Rodgers doesn't really have a true number one receiver in Devontae Adams anymore. And he also lost his number two wide receiver, Valdez-Scantling, to the Chiefs.
Kansas City.
In the offseason. But the Packers, Aaron Rodgers still has Randall Cobb to throw to. He's got Alan Lazard, who has been a true X factor, I believe, over the past number of years, with how many targets he's been getting from Aaron Rodgers over the past couple of years. And plus, you can't forget about the running back tandem of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Both backs were able to split an equal amount of carries last year for the Green Bay Packers. And, A.J. Dillon looked more of like a superstar than Aaron Jones did, which is kind of surprising to me. But the Packers have too much talent on both sides of the ball. Plus, with Aaron Rodgers still as quarterback, it's going to be another division title for Green Bay. Now, the only chance I see Green Bay going anywhere in the playoffs is if they somehow lock horns with the Dallas Cowturds in the playoffs. But I digress.
I don't know, Joey. I would not trust Aaron Rodgers against anybody in the playoffs, because he's had a resume of failure.
You never know. You never know what we're going to see out of Aaron Rodgers. But it's going to be another long offseason at home for Green Bay, because they're going to lose in the playoffs no matter who they play, unless they play Dallas. Then I'll actually be rooting for them. But anyway, Kevin.
Well, I'm glad I was saved for last, because my previews are completely different than y'all's. See, and that's all right. Everybody has their own previews. I'm just saying, here's my thing. I'm taking what happened not just last year, but key pieces and stuff that's happened this offseason, training camp up until this point when I'm making these predictions. And I'm completely on the other end of the spectrum here, because my last place team is Chicago. And the reason I say that, yes, they got Justin Field, but can you tell me that why they ranked 28th in the NFL in offensive line production? Justin Field is going to get killed. He's got no offensive line. David Montgomery he stays more prone to injury than any other body in the division. And not to mention, I'm just throwing this out there, but Chicago has lost so many pieces on defense. That once Pro Bowl defense 4 years ago, Kyle Fuller signed elsewhere. Akeem Hicks signed with the Bucks.
Yep.
Roquan Smith wants out. The other corner signed with the Chiefs. They literally lost, and all of those were Pro Bowlers. They lost every single one of them, and possibly Roquan Smith. He wants out. He's sick of it. They disrespected him was going to make him the 11th or 12th highest paid linebacker in the league. He should be top 5. And Chicago said, we don't want to pay you. Not to mention, Chicago's number 1 receiver signed with the Rams. Allen Robinson went to the Rams.
Oh, yeah.
Who is Chicago's
That's right.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, I know who Chicago's number 1 receiver is. The bum who left New England, N'Keal Harry. He was a bum. He got benched because he's not good. So you're telling me you're going to give Justin Fields that kind of weapons and, go to work with no offensive line, no defense, a piss poor upper management, got a new coach. I'm not going to judge him yet. Poor front office. No offense to Ezra, but that team is in a massive rebuild overhaul right now. More than Detroit. At least Detroit has a foundation laid for the team that they're building. Detroit has more than Chicago outside of quarterback. I mean, I'm just keeping it real. I got Chicago winning 3 games out of 3, maybe 4 if they're lucky.
Wow.
I'm gonna say 3-14 because they're rebuilding. Who is Justin Fields going to throw the ball to? Please, I wish someone would tell me because he don't have anybody. I mean, Jesus Christ, son. At least Detroit. People disrespect Jared Goff, and it's about like Kirk Cousins. Yeah, he's gonna fuck up a game, but people don't realize he did lead the LA Rams to the Super Bowl 1 year. So can we quit with he's just that bad? He did take the Rams to the Super Bowl, for crying out loud. He did beat the Saints. I mean, on his arm, he did throw the ball and beat the Saints in the championship game, thanks to the penalty stimulus check, by the way. But that's nonetheless, Jared Goff is not a horrible, bad quarterback. Is he a Band-Aid to where they possibly need? Yes, he is a Band-Aid, but he's not a bad Band-Aid to have, because let's look at it. While Justin Fields is throwing to a bunch of dummies with no offensive line, you went out and got Jamison Williams, like Joey said. Great receiver. Could be great in the NFL. You already got St. Brown, who bursted on the scene last year as a solid receiver. You went out and got DeAndre Swift, who was an all-purpose running back to throw to. You also, and here's my opinion, you have a top 5 tight end in the NFL. Right now, real quick, top 5, any order you want. George Kittle, Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, Mark Andrews, and who? TJ Hawkinson. Where's TJ Hawkinson played? Detroit. Detroit's got a defense behind them. They got Jeff Okudah. They went out and got Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, they were pretty solid on that side of the ball. And by the way, if this tells you something, they did blow out Kyler Murray like 42-10 last season.
Yes, they
So
did.
I'm not saying Detroit is horrible. If out of all honesty, Detroit was the best of the 5 or less win teams last year.
Agreed.
Like
In every game, they were in every game.
And who would you, if you tell me this year, who you taking in a game? Detroit or New York Jets? Taking
Detroit.
Who you telling me? New York Giants
Detroit.
or Detroit? Detroit or Jacksonville? Detroit.
Detroit.
And listen, when I talk about luck, I mean, look at some of those games that they lost last year was complete, just something Detroit kind of luck. Like, if you play any other fucking kicker but on the Baltimore Ravens besides Justin Tucker, they beat the Baltimore Ravens. Who else is going to kick a 70-yard field goal, for crying out loud? Nobody. Minnesota got a bullshit ass call at the end to kick one of the field goals. to beat them the first game. They could have beat Minnesota. And let's not forget, and here's why I'm saying this. Chicago had more last year and should have lost that Thanksgiving Day game to the Lions if it wasn't for a bad coaching call. They should have lost that game. Detroit should have been a 7-win team last year with their rebuilding stage. And here's one thing I know about Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell is a hell of a coach. Like I'm very impressed that these players, even though they were losing and had bad luck last year, they still played their asses off. They played their hearts out for their coach. You know why? Because their coach is for them. When everybody's like, oh, how'd you lose the game? Dan Campbell stood up in front of the media in tears and said, hey, these boys played their asses off and they deserve respect. That's all you can ask for your head coach. Go to war with you, go to war for you, and you played for him. And that's what Detroit's doing. It's hard to beat a team that plays for their head coach. And right. I think and like I said, no hate towards Chicago, but look at it like that. Now, who has the better foundation out of them rebuilding teams? Clearly, Detroit. I mean, clearly. The only other thing I would take over right now is Justin Fields over Jared Goff. Okay. Every other aspect, I'm taking Detroit. Better defense because of what Chicago lost this year. Better receivers. I mean, come on. Better head coach. I think Detroit is going to be a 6 to 7 win team this year because I don't see those that little wrong end of the stick luck they had last year. It tends not to happen 2 years in a row for a lot of teams. I could be wrong. Do it again and win 4 games, still more than Chicago, but I think they win 6 or 7 because I think things start to turn their way. Dan Campbell starts getting some wins under him. I mean, even with Jared Goff, think they might go get a quarterback this offseason. Who knows? But Jared Goff ain't terrible. Yeah. And in second in this division, I think they're going to be a wild card team. This is who I pick over the Saints. I think the Green Bay Packers come in second.
Wow.
When I look at key additions, I don't care what I watched this whole game because they obviously played my 49ers. When Aaron Rodgers didn't have his boy, Devontae Adams, he fucking struggled. He didn't know where to go to the ball. He didn't know who to throw to. I mean, granted, San Francisco is the number 3 defense in the NFL, but still, he still looked about as lost as a fucking baseball player trying to play football at that point. He didn't know what to do. That was not Aaron Rodgers. He didn't know what to do. So you mean to tell me that, it's automatically going to change and Alan Lazard is going to play like Devontae Adams? Yeah, nope. There's no way in the hell. And I'm looking at Green Bay's schedule, unlike Minnesota. They play certain teams that Minnesota don't. Green Bay has to travel to play the Los Angeles Rams this year. Minnesota doesn't. Green Bay has to play the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. Oof. That's losses. If you can sit there and tell me that Aaron Rodgers, with his awesome weapons that he don't have, has more weapons than the Rams or the Bills, then you are mistakenly fooled because Alan Lazard couldn't hold any of those receivers' jock straps. He couldn't even compete with Cooper Kupp. He couldn't compete with Stephon Diggs. And you're telling me that's your number one? He's not. I'm sorry, but Aaron Rodgers, not even the greatness of Aaron Rodgers and his psychedelic drugs are going to save him from having a piss poor receiving core. Not to mention that nobody mentioned, Green Bay's offensive line lost 2 Pro Bowlers this year. Mekhi Beckham, who we talked about last year, went to the Jets. That was their all-pro left tackle. Gone. Who's going to protect Aaron Rodgers now? Okay, sure, you got Aaron Jones, but hell, when the run game abandons you, which it tends to do in the NFL, what are you going to do? You ain't got a tight end. You got Robert Tonyan, obviously, coming off an ACL injury. How good is he? The only thing I trust in Green Bay, surprisingly, is their defense. And that's what really I'm sick and tired of over these last 5 to 6 years is people try to give that bullshit excuse about Aaron Rodgers. Oh, well, his defense let him down. He's got a bad defense. That's not a fucking excuse, and I'm tired of hearing it. To the 49ers, my team, we didn't score a fucking offensive touchdown. Now, whose fault was that? Their defense stood up. Now, what's the excuse? Aaron Rodgers couldn't do nothing. What's his excuse? I mean, if you want to play the defense, it's the defense's fault game. Josh Allen can make that excuse, but he doesn't. Patrick Mahomes can make that excuse because of the Chiefs jumping off sides in 2018, but he doesn't. So Aaron Rodgers, what makes him so good? My defense didn't play. My defense didn't play. Shut up, man. You know your offense has let you down, and you're expecting Allen Lazard to be your number one? Oh, come on, man. I mean, come on. And Green Bay is – oh, no, I forgot. They didn't get him. Okay. No, Allen Lazard, he's a good number 2 receiver. He's not a number 1. And then that leaves me to Minnesota. And like Detroit, here's why I'm saying Minnesota. I think Minnesota wins 10 games. They go 10-7, and they win the division right there with Green Bay. I think they tie about 10 games each.
Wow.
But here's my thing. Just like I said about Detroit, Minnesota had some bad breaks last year. They had a shit ton of tie games, overtime games, close games they should have won. They gave it up. I think it goes the opposite way this year. A key to that, I forgot, one of y'all said it, Randy said it, new head coach. The head coach is that nobody said is actually the coach and mentoree of Sean McVay in LA, and it was their offensive coordinator, Kevin O'Connell. So you got someone who's learning from Sean McVay, other than Kyle Shanahan, one of the best offensive play callers in the game. You got him coming to help Kirk Cousins. I mean, come on now. I know Kirk's had his up and down years, but look at the players he's got as far as talent-wise. Pretty decent offensive line, I would say. I mean, they gave our D-line fits last year, and we've got one of the best in the game. And, yeah, Dalvin Cook stays hurt. But I'm going to make this statement right here live on this show. Next year, as well as years down the road, Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in football. I will say it right now. I will say it. He has that Randy Moss-like potential. He broke Randy Moss's Minnesota record last year, by the way. Let's not forget that. And when I look at it, he's more of a receiver than anybody else in this game. Like, he's got it all. Speed. He can play in the slot. He's physical. He can go over the top. He can catch it deep, catch in traffic, block. He can do everything. And when a healthy Adam Thielen is playing with him, I'm going to say it right now, that's the second best receiver duo in football. Wow. Second to third best receiver duo in football, because then you got to look at like Cooper Kupp and then the Bills receiver duo. Yeah, you got to look at that. But Minnesota can hang with them. It's just like the Saints. Can they rely on Kirk Cousins? And Kirk Cousins by himself? No, I'd say hell no. He's been so up and down. But at the same time, you got a guy who just left the Super Bowl champion Rams and made Matthew Stafford a fucking champion. You best believe he knows some offense, buddy. He's going to have that offense ready to play. He's going to have Justin Jefferson having a career year. He's going to have Kirk Cousins throwing the ball all over the field. I mean, I just think Minnesota's going to edge out Green Bay this year. It's time for them to win one. Minnesota's been like that in the past. They win one year, they get lucky, and the luck start falling in their favor, and they win it. I mean, the next 2 years it's been bad luck, but hell, come on.
Because luck, remember, what was it,
starts to fall.
2013, right? 2013, 2014, when they won the division that year. They were excellent that year, when AP was the MVP, and I mean, and that's what one thing I want to ask you, Kevin, is do you think that with a new coach on the Vikings, do you think that simply a head coaching change could that boost Kirk Cousins' confidence level? Because I think it could, even though he's had an up and down career. I honestly truly think that a new leader at the helm in Minnesota could be an excellent thing for him and a new change of scenery for him.
Well, let me just put things in perspective. Last year they had sorry-ass Mike Zimmer. Nobody likes him. He was the Matt Nagy of Minnesota. Everybody was criticizing him. It's about time he got rid of him. But
I don't know how the hell he lasted as long as he did in Minnesota, but go ahead.
Stats. Kirk didn't play bad last year. He didn't, up until the last week of the season, he threw 0 interceptions in road games last year.
Wow. Okay.
His stats for last year were 33 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. You know what Patrick Mahomes were? 38 touchdowns, 13 interceptions.
Wow.
He essentially played like a top 5 quarterback. But nobody's going to say nothing because Mike Zimmer was his head coach. and he struggled in other games that mattered, like the 49er game or close games like that. Yes, that's true. But you can't sit there and make that argument when you're talking about Aaron Rodgers, too. This guy literally chokes every fucking year in an NFC title game, single-handedly every single fucking year. But you want to say Kirk Cousins? Yes, okay, he does it, but neither does Rodgers. Regular season big games don't count.
Exactly.
The big games that I'm talking about is, you got a divisional game. You're up on the 49ers, and you're over there throwing ducks.
And your special teams can't block worth a damn.
You throw a duck. You're throwing ducks up there, and you're choking. NFC title game 2 years in a row to the 49ers and the Bucks. You're throwing ducks and choking.
Even better, Kevin. Atlanta. He got his ass whooped in Atlanta against the Falcons in 2017.
Throwing fucking ducks. So people that really are going to make that argument can't make that argument about Kirk Cousins, even though it is true, without mentioning Aaron Rodgers.
Right, because Kirk Cousins hasn't had a playoff resume that Rodgers has of epic failures.
I mean, I think it's this turn. Kevin O'Connell was a solid offensive guy. Like I believe in Mike McDaniel, who coached under Kyle Shanahan, going to Miami. That's why I gave Miami a good shot of doing something, because you just don't understand. When you're a student of the game and you're studying from Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay, good things are going to happen. You're going to learn some offense. You take what you learn and you install it with Kirk Cousins and Dalvin Cook, a healthy Dalvin Cook, and Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. That's the best weapons in the division by far.
And I agree with you from a talent standpoint that Minnesota has the best weaponry. It's just the fact of, can Minnesota get out of that struggle? Because last year, if it wasn't for Mike Zimmer screwing up games with Minnesota could well have probably won that division. It's just that all of the bad luck that the Vikings had last year, I hope that I'm wrong how Minnesota could do this year, because we all want change in the NFL with this division, because Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers time, the window is closing before our very eyes. And I think that Green Bay is that they're not going to be the team that they have been in the past. I mean, especially during playoff time. That's why I'm not even saying even if they make the playoffs, I don't even if they do make the playoffs, I don't think Green Bay is going to get even past not a single round, because I just don't trust Rodgers, and we don't trust Rodgers in a big spot. And we love to see a person who doesn't know how to succeed in these critical, crucial times. They don't learn from their mistakes, and they fall flat on their face. And every time we say Rodgers is going to blow it, eventually he's going to blow it. And that's the problem with this division is that, like you said, is that in this division in the past, Rodgers has gotten break after break after break for the most part. Now the tide is turning. Now the cards are turning in a different favor for these other teams, because Minnesota has weapons. Detroit drafted very well in the draft, and Jared Goff.
Couple years.
Exactly. And Jared Goff, is he a bona fide superstar? Not really, but he's still a pretty damn decent quarterback, and he led the Rams to the Super Bowl. And if he can, stay consistent, I think Detroit does have a pretty good chance, because like you said, I mean, Detroit was the best, 4-5 win team last year. They were really, really good because their players cared, and they fought for Dan Campbell. They loved that dude. They said they would go to war for that guy. Every time Detroit was in a game last year, I was pulling for them because Detroit has talent. It's just that the football gods above just it just didn't fall in their favor. They should have won that game against Chicago last year.
My thing about Jared Goff, though, Stephen, is people get the wrong perception of him because of that point of view. Oh, Sean McVay dumped your ass because he wants to upgrade to put them over the top. I see what they're saying, but this is a dude, Jared Goff, might I mind you, was going to war with Patrick Mahomes in the greatest Monday Night Football game ever on
excellent.
TV.
Yes.
It was that 52-49 game. Jared Goff stood his ground. But people say, oh, he's bad. What? I mean, he's not a Stafford or Aaron Rodgers,
but he's still pretty damn good.
It's the same way with and I don't want to get off topic too much, but it's the same way people scrutinize Jimmy G. Just because they wanted to upgrade to make a better playmaker doesn't mean he's a bad quarterback. I wish people would stop that crap. They do it with golf. And what did Jared Goff do to the Arizona Cardinals? He tore their asses up last year. He tore them up for 40 points in that game with just St. Brown. They ain't even have DeAndre Swift. Him and Hawkinson went to work. And it's just, I think Detroit's luck is starting to change. I mean, this is 2022. I think Chicago's in obviously a massive rebuild. I think Green Bay's just, it's time Aaron Rodgers falls off a cliff. I mean that physically and literally. Like, fall off a fucking cliff. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the annex. I'm tired of the drama. Just to go get in the playoffs and give
us some new life, please.
Now, I don't want to get in the playoff seeding because that's another conversation for another day. But in my prediction, I got Green Bay as a wild card, maybe a 6 or 7 seed, maybe 6. But in my playoff bracket, that puts them going to the Rams in the first game or going to the Buccaneers. The only team they might can beat is the winner in the NFC East. That might be literally
right. Because if you look at the schedule, Kevin, I mean, they played the Bears and the Vikings and the Bears in the first couple of weeks. Those are possible, maybe one win, maybe 2 wins, but their first official loss, in our opinion, probably will be against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm looking at divisions and playoff seedings in my bracket, I obviously have the other NFC West team is the first wild card, like 49ers, and then the Cardinals as the second wild card. So that would put like the 49ers playing like the worst division winner, which would be the NFC East, in my opinion.
Yep.
So that means Green Bay wouldn't get to play them. Green Bay would have to go play like the Rams or the Bucks. I mean, come on now. They could play the Vikings and look out. I mean, the way I got it set up. Now, who knows? They might look out then. That's their best chance of winning one. I just don't. I think the time has changed for the NFC North, and I think Green Bay's done.
Excellent takes by you, brother, and just excellent takes on this division. Because I mean, you made a lot of great points, and the changing of the guard might be coming in the NFC North. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see when the regular season starts in a couple of weeks, folks. And we love doing these. We love doing these football previews. And next week it'll be the NFC East and the NFC West, baby. The best division of football, the NFC West. And
I'm glad you didn't say the NFC East.
No, oh hell no. Yeah, the NFC least, exactly. And the NFC West is a stacked division. And it wouldn't surprise me if 3 out of these 4 teams go into the playoffs next year. And Kevin, I believe that there is a topic that you want to talk about, and that is our favorite circus act, Kevin Durant, because this dude keeps going down a downward spiral with the Nets. So give us your takes on this joke of a job for this past week with KD.
Oh, I'm telling you, I don't want to rant again, but this is hitting all. This shit has hit the fan literally. Like now he's talking about, if you don't trade me, I'll retire. Well, you know what? I'm sorry, and I love Kevin Durant. I love his game. I love when he was with Golden State. I love when he was OKC. But if you're just gonna retire, just shut the fuck up. Get out of here. Save everybody some time. Save the drama. We're tired of hearing it. And the Nets are tired of hearing it. Like, you're literally throwing Steve Nash and company under the bus because you bums only played like 20 games together. That's not their fault. That sounds like a player fault. That sounds like a player's, like, that's y'all's problem. Y'all couldn't play together. And now you want to come out and publicly announce you want to go to the Philadelphia 76ers with James Harden? Didn't you try this shit get put out by the Bucks? Didn't you and Harden just get put out by the Bucks in that game 7? And Harden was a fucking no-show? I thought so. But you want to go play with Harden in Philadelphia. I'm just, this circus has got to end. I honestly wish they would just cancel out the Brooklyn fucking Nets and make a new start over and make a franchise back in Seattle again, where it well deservingly needs to be. Because this circus is nothing but that of a fucking circus. It's a clown show, and the main actors are the clown Kevin Durant and his little sidekick, one trick pony in a cheap trick circus, Kyrie Irving, with his one cheap trick being his ball handling, and his damn horrible act is his fucking vaccine mandate. I'm just saying it, like, that has got to be, that could be the most talented duo of all time, but it's the most undisciplined, the most selfish, the most drama-filled duo. It's like a fucking teenage girl saga at this point. It's just drama, 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 drama. High school drama that needs to end. I don't even see this drama in LA, and they have shitted on Russell Westbrook. I don't even see this drama in Golden State. I don't see this drama with the Charlotte Hornets. I see them breaking the laws, but I don't see them in fucking crying about this and that. I mean, come on, man. You get paid millions and you're crying. I mean, it's like I say, if I'm crying about my job, I'm going to fucking leave. I'm going to find me another job. So, Kevin Durant, do the same. If you're crying that much, leave. Oh, well. I mean, goodness gracious. It's your fault that this summer, I love the Nets so much, I'm going to sign a 4-year, $200 million deal. Then less than 6 months later, I want to quit. I don't want to be here. What? Why sign the 4-year deal in the first place? You would have been a free agent next year. But no, I want to make the decision to resign. Now I want out. I don't like Kyrie. I don't like Steve Nash. I don't like you. I don't like the guy in the first row. He hurt my feelings. Kevin Durant has hit the fan, and he's about as out of whack as his fucking hair in the middle of his head. He's all out of sorts. Like, his head already looks like Soldier Field from this past weekend in Chicago. Spots every freaking way. He needs a fucking hammer. I mean, from my perspective, from a personal perspective, and I love Kevin Durant, I just wish he would not have gotten his fucking feelings about what Draymond Green said, and he would have stayed in Golden State because shit was so peaceful. I mean, yeah, you had your couple of people. It's not fair. Can't nobody beat them. Oh, well. Kevin Durant wasn't complaining. He was having fun. There's one thing I will take up for Durant. Here lately it don't seem this way, but Kevin Durant, all he wants to do is play ball. All he wants to do is play ball. And you know what? His dumbass decision-making is what took that away. He could have stayed in Golden State playing the best brand of basketball there is with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and the offense they run. He would have had he had fun. He was playing ball. And then he said, I want to leave that to try something new, and realize he can't play ball where he's at. Now he's mad. Life of a teenage basketball player, huh? Because that's what it feels like.
All I can say is,
fuck, I can't believe you've done this.
That's what I'm saying to Kevin Durant right now. I cannot believe he done this. You could have just stayed in Golden State 4 years ago instead of acting like an ass clown. Again, I said it last week and I'll say it again. In the words of the great Chris Jericho, will you please shut the hell up, Durant, please, for the sake of NBA.
Kevin Durant. You did it again. Although it wasn't as bad this week like it was last week for Durant fans. I'm sorry, KD fans, but your star player is a complete utter buffoon jackass. If get rid of the head coach, get rid of the GM. I'll stay here to get rid of those guys. Who you gonna have? Steve Clifford as your head coach? He's not. Like he would go to that dumpster fire of a team. Oh my god.
That's a circus.
Yep.
At this point, listen, if I'm the owners, I'm just getting rid of Durant. I don't care if you give me a bag of chips. Just take your losses, suck your wounds, and move on about your day. I mean, at this point, it's not even worth it. It's not even worth wanting a whole nother roster. And you know what? I got one last thing to say on this topic before I'm done with it permanently. But somebody, an NBA insider, Mark Stein, brought up a really good point. He said, you know why teams ain't asking for an overhaul for Kevin Durant? Someone said that Kevin Durant, other teams don't want to do that because they realize Kevin Durant can't do the shit on his own. He needs a fucking roster. So why give up a roster for someone who can't do it on his own? And that's just the sad truth. He can't do it on his own. He needs superstars. He needs a coach. So why give up all your superstars for a guy who ain't going to win you a chip anyway? He needs those players. So teams like the Boston Celtics ain't going to give up Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum. Teams like the Golden State Warriors ain't going to give up Andrew Wiggins and all them. I mean, teams like that, they're not going to give up nobody. Teams like the Raptors ain't going to give up their young core because of someone who can't win the chip by itself. Now, only person that's worth that, I would say, would be Steph Curry and Giannis Antetokounmpo. They could win it by Steph Curry literally won it by himself outside of like his help and his coach and stuff. He didn't have a super team. Giannis Antetokounmpo didn't have a super team and he won it by himself. Kevin Durant cannot, and that's simple.
Sad but true, but it's the truth. And there's nothing but the truth in those statements. And moving along, they're switching gears here, and unfortunately we had to talk about this, but this weekend there was a shooting at a youth football game, and a head coach lost his life, and very, very, very sad. A coach of a 9-year-old son, his father unfortunately was gunned down at a Pee Wee football game, and by Aqib Talib's brother. And just reading this, it's very heartbreaking how everything happened and stuff, because I mean, when you're in an argument with a coach over disagreements about stuff, you should not resort to violence like that. And violence at sporting events, especially kids' games, has got to stop. And I mean, shooting him multiple times. Why? Because you disagreed over a call or something in a game? That is stupid. I mean, you should, if you have words, okay, whatever, fine. But don't resort to something that you're going to regret for the rest of your life. Because, I mean, Aqib Talib was very upset, at his brother for doing what he did, and his brother, he is officially screwed. And he's going to get charged with first-degree murder, rightly so. And he will spend the rest of his life in prison. And and those poor children had to be at that game and watch the innocent man lose his life. I mean, I feel so bad for those kids, because those coaches that were there, all of those parents that were there are going to have to explain to those kids what happened. And it's very heartbreaking what happened. And Joe, you brought up a very interesting, point in our group channel on social media, wanting to discuss this, and this needs to be discussed, because we all grew up going to sporting events, with our family members. I mean, Kevin, you and I have been to countless games together, with our cousin, the late great Daniel Coble. We went to several football games together. Hell, we went to a couple of games and watched you play football, and we went to, and going to the JV Raider games and stuff. I mean, there were kids there, parents there, grown adults, young adults and stuff, and it was a lot of fun going to the kids' games and stuff, and getting to experience, the future of football, especially in our local communities and stuff like that. And everybody should be still going to these events, but at the same time, we all need to learn respect about what to do and what not to do when it comes to getting into altercations and situations, because this incident could have been avoided by Talib's brother. I mean, we should not be resorting to actions that we can't take back if we do those actions, because that head coach cannot be brought back to life. He's passed away. He's dead. And Talib's brother is going to pay the ultimate price of taking an innocent man's life, a father, a coach, all of that stuff above. And I think he will spend the rest of his life in prison. And I'm going to start with you, Joey, because you're the one that brought this up in our chat. And I want you to give your thoughts on this tragedy situation.
You know, it's not really the tragic situation itself as much as it is these kids who have pledged to their parents and pleaded to their parents that they want to play sports because they want to make something out of their lives. They want to take that next step forward and just really dedicate themselves to playing a sport, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, hockey, soccer, no matter what the sport is. They want to take that next step forward and they want to prove that they can actually practice enough that they can one day hang with the big boys. But yet, it's always getting torn apart by some sort of tragic event that happens, whether it's fans disagreeing with each other, fans fighting during games, shootings happening,
Right.
arrests being made. It doesn't matter what it is. The fact of the matter is, the one thing that should have been taught, and I'm pretty sure it was taught, but that nobody is applying to when they were going through their 12 years of grade school and who knows how many years of college, depending on where they wanted to stop at. But the one thing that should have been taught, that should have been lived by over the past several years, is that violence is not only the answer when it comes to kids' sporting events, but violence is not the answer in general.
Exactly.
It should never be the answer. I mean, you got these kids who are 9 years old who are starting to get a good aspect on life, but yet these same 9-year-olds who want to take that next step forward, who want to try to be the next role model to someone else or to someone younger or someone who can actually hang with the big boys and play a sport that means a lot to them. These are the same 9-year-olds who watched a football coach get shot and killed on a football field. And the one thing that I want to take away from all this is that young kids are usually taught at a young age how to act, how to behave, and how to do whatever they need to do in order to be a success in life. But yet, those are the same kids that are being taught that have to witness a shooting happen at a scrimmage football game of all places. So if Aqib Talib's brother, who was the one that pulled the trigger that killed that football coach, what is that teaching these 9-year-olds?
Exactly.
What is that teaching them? Because it's teaching them that, oh, maybe I should have a handgun by my side all the time to be a true success in life, or maybe I need to be like this dude, and whenever something doesn't go right, I get a knife out, or I grab a machete, or I grab a handgun, or I grab whatever weapon is close to my side and kill the first person who doesn't agree with me. That's not teaching. That's not teaching these kids anything. That's teaching them how to be failures. And yes, I'm calling them failures because they're the ones who choose to throw their life away over something stupid that, like you said, Stephen, could have been prevented. This shooting could have been prevented. That high school football, or that 9-year-old football coach knew what he was doing. He's been coaching the game for Lord knows how many years. And all of a sudden, this a former NFL cornerback's brother, who probably doesn't know a rat's ass, and I'm sorry for cussing, but a rat's ass about football, disagrees with one call that the coach made during the game. And what does he do? he pulls out a handgun and shoots him in front of a bunch of 9-year-olds. And who knows how many other kids were at that game. I mean, there could have been kids watching with their families who were, let's say, 3, 4, 5 years old. And yet they had to watch something like that happen.
Right.
They had to witness something like that happen.
Right.
So it is these failures of people that are ruining the streets, that are teaching these kids the wrong thing, teaching these kids the wrong aspect of life. And as a result, it's going to cost them. Now, I'm hoping and praying that those 9-year-olds or heck, I'm pretty sure there's probably even some teenagers there watching their little brother or watching a good friend of theirs play. I hope they don't resort to the fact that, maybe I need to always have a weapon by my side in order to get far in life. No, you don't need to have that mindset in your mind. You don't need to have that mindset going on as you live your life day in and day out, week in and week out, and so on and so forth. You don't need to have that kind of mindset at all. Now, from the bottom of my heart, I feel for that coach's family who is never gonna share another birthday with, or one that I'm sure lit up a bunch of family dinners whenever the whole family would get together, and knowing that one surefire piece is going to be missing. I feel for that family because, like we all have said, that shooting could have been prevented, but it was the stupidity actions of one former NFL cornerback's brother who not only took a coach's life, but took a family member away from a family that actually loved them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just at sporting events. We see it happen all the time. I mean, that 16-year-old teenager from Kenosha, Wisconsin, who was walking down the streets of Kenosha, Wisconsin with I think it was a machete or some sort of machine gun, shooting and killing everyone in sight. And he wound up actually killing, I think it was 3 black people. I mean, I'm not saying that all black people are failures, because they're not. There are vukus of athletes, vukus of amazing people out there. But it's just, and I'm not.
There's good people in every race. There's good and bad people in every race.
See, I'm not degrading any race in general, because I am not a racist person. I never have been. I never will be.
Right.
I never will be. But it's always 1 or 2 bad eggs out of a group of people that's going to ruin everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
and that's the problem, because I mean, that's the one thing that scares me about these, for these kids is they're going to have to learn, what not to do when things don't go your way,
exactly.
because violence, like we keep saying, is not the answer. And
exactly. And I hate it for that, because what everybody was able to witness, whether it was on the field or on a video screen this past Saturday, is going to lead to another Sandy Hook shooting, another Columbine shooting, another Uvalde shooting. It's going to lead to events like that. And I don't want it to end like that. People's lives, there are millions of innocent lives out there that are getting ruined every single day because of one person's stupid actions. And I hate that this world has come to this.
Yep.
And I just hope, and this is my final thought, I just hope that it ends really, really soon. Because if it don't, then we are in for a action-packed sob story of a lifetime.
Yep. And Kevin, I know this affects you on so many different levels, not just from a sports perspective, but also as a father of children. Kevin, I want you to give your thoughts on this situation and just, what needs to be prevented to stop this nonsense.
Man, it's just so sad, because like Joey was saying, it not only did an innocent coach lose his life, but that is somebody's father that you took. You took someone's father away from them. They will never get to be coached by their father again. They will never be able to love their father again. They will never be able to touch, hug, kid. They won't be able to do none of that with their father again. Won't get to watch his son grow up and play the sport he loved that he was coached by his father. That's so heartbreaking to me. And for this to happen in front of his son who was playing in the game is absolutely gut-wrenching, because that kid watched his father take his last breath. No child should have to watch their parent take their last breath that early on in life. It just because someone who was raised wrong, because yes, I said it, the guy who's going to pull a gun was raised in the way that he was taught that, oh, if you don't get your way, get it anyway, by any means necessary. He didn't like something, so he started shooting and acting stupid. And actually, I meant to say this earlier, but there were actually reports that just came out, I've seen on Facebook a while ago, that his brother, Aqib Talib, actually started the brawl that turned into the fight. He threw the first punch. And
Wow.
honestly, I can honestly say, if that is true, he is one piece of shit, because and we've already known how he is in the NFL. We know his resume. We know he loves to fight and start shit for no fucking reason with innocent players. And you know what? This adds up to how he would act off the field. And if his brother did that, it just speaks on how they was raised as kids. I don't like to degrade it.
That. Wow.
But if you're going to be raised like that, if you're going to grow up and both of you and your sibling act like that, that speaks on how you was raised growing up, that you're just going to fight and act like a bunch of hoodlums and hooligans out there shooting guns at an innocent fucking football game where parents have innocent children out there playing football, and they have to worry about their kids' livelihoods playing the game that they love. It's a youth football game, man. You're supposed to enjoy it. That's the game these kids fell in love with. Those guys are using that to get to the NFL to make a career. Those guys are using that to socialize with their friends. Those guys are using that to stay off the streets to avoid them gun issues and drug problems. Because you know what? I've learned this as a kid, and I know this as an adult now. Football and youth programs like that save so many kids from those exact problems, those gun problems, those drug problems, all that stuff. Youth football is so helpful in development in kids. And just because one guy didn't like the way the coach made a decision about his son, it's life. Get over it, man. Like, life is going to throw hurdles your way. You can't always do something. Like I was taught in football, it's just like real life. My boss is gonna, if my boss at work don't like something I'm doing, he's gonna correct me. Does that mean I gotta go off and start shooting, or someone of my relatives gonna go off and start shooting and raising hell because my boss, who is in charge, is telling me what to do and I don't like it? Like, that's stupid, man. It's real life. Like, there's got to be some discipline for these kids, man. Or like those guys like that. They had no discipline growing. They were just taught it's their way or the highway. And it's ridiculous, man. I mean, no kid should lose their father to innocent gun violence like that. And I've witnessed Steve Kerr get emotional about it. He's lost his father at a young age to the same kind of shit that's happened. This gun violence needs to stop.
Michael Jordan's father
was gunned down.
Was gunned down.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Matter of fact, he was gunned down right outside of Scotland County head in Lumberton, and what's that county? Right there at Lumberton, right at the state line, not too far from where we live around this area.
Yep.
That is
Robeson
crazy.
County.
Yeah, Robeson County. He was gunned down. There's no needing guns in sports, man. I've noticed that, like I said, youth football is a place where kids can grow, where they can develop life skills that they can be taught on the field that will lead them through the rest of their lives to avoid this senseless act of gun violence that was betrayed in front of our eyes. And you know what? I don't care. He could get life in prison. He could get the electric chair. I don't give a shit. You know what? No amount of punishment you give him is going to bring that father of that 9-year-old kid back to life. And that will never be forgotten. That kid is going to grow up without a father because of some senseless gun violence. Come on, man. This world, we just got to do better, man.
Exactly.
Look, everybody, love on your kids, love on your dads, because this world's gone crazy. People in it's gone crazy. The gun violence, the violence in general, the mass shootings, the killing sprees, the senseless, like, stuff that could have been avoided is hit the fan. And it's really senseless to me. And I honestly hope that instant karma comes back and bites him right in his ass, because like I said, no amount of punishment is going to bring that father back for that.
And Kevin, and you hit it on the nail on the head about if the report is true, if Aqib Talib is the one who started all of this, if he did, it wouldn't surprise me, because Talib's actions on the field resorted him to not only him getting his ass whooped on the field, but him getting tossed out of the game because he was pushing like Michael Crabtree's buttons, those years down in Oakland and then Las Vegas. And, getting into multiple fights. And Randy, you witnessed those fights, as a Raiders fan, and Talib's actions. Yeah. And,
you know what? It's crazy because when you read into the story about it, and I know Randy probably has as a Raiders fan, but there's some things in the game that you just don't disrespect. That chain that Michael Crabtree had, his grandma just passed away and gave him that chain. That's something you don't fuck with. You don't cross that line. You can talk trash, fight, push, shove after the whistle, just be a little dirty, but there's certain things in football that you do not cross that line and disrespect, and another man's dead grandma is not one of them. And you know what? I wish Michael Crabtree would have whooped his ass on the spot. I wish he would have tore him up right then.
If that would have been AJ Green or Andre Johnson, he would have beat his ass. Woo!
It would have been Def Jam, fight for your life.
Yeah, exactly. Looking like a scene from that video game, came out 18 years ago. My goodness. I mean, Randy, give your thoughts on this. I mean, it is very unfortunate how this happened. I mean, it's got to stop at some point. It has to stop now. Yes, it does. And you guys have talked at length and made such great points about it. And another thing, Kevin, to bring up, how it teaches them life skills and all that, but a lot of those kids are going there to get away from violence, to get away from all that shit. And then these morons, I don't care who it is, what rate, nothing like that, bring that stuff to there. Those kids are just wanting, like you said, are wanting to get away from all that and play football, and at some point maybe even make it. And for them to even have every other kid to have to see that, and every other kid have to deal with that, and it's just weird that you would think that like a former NFL guy would be going to a youth football game, and his brother would be shooting people. It is unreal that we even have to talk about this. And so what is the answer? We'll never know, unfortunately, because people are going to be people no matter what. People are going to do whatever the hell they want to do. What they want, man, and it's sad. And that poor kiddo had to watch his pops die, man. That I can't even imagine. What they were through. Like I said, and all those other kids, like I said, they went there for a release and escape, and here they are. It followed them there, and yeah, it's like really, we come here to enjoy our lives and watch the game that we love. And now I hate to say it, y'all, but it wouldn't surprise me if these kids, if the love of football not only is gone from their lives at times, but is gone in general, because it is going to be hard. It is going to be hard for a young child at 8 to 9 to 10 years old to come back to the game of football when they watch the innocent head coach lose his life over some dumb bullshit, because if there's a disagreement at a game, you don't resort to violence. Okay. I'm going to transition a little quick, to music for a second, because I'm a musician. And for those that don't know, I play drums. And there were times during my playing times, when I was getting into playing with people and stuff, I would be doing the drum fills and stuff and just trying to practice that stuff, in the middle of playing songs. And I didn't understand the disciplining of playing, like a beat, keeping that groove going. And then you change, when it's necessary to go to that drum roll. And I was being told, hey, dude, what if you did this? What if you did that? What if you try to learn how to keep that groove going? And then when it's necessary, then do your drum roll, and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, I took that constructive criticism and it made me a better, more disciplined player. And and did I resort to any violent actions or any, acting crazy? No, because you got to be able to learn how to take constructive criticism from people, because if you resort to violence, that right there is just showing these kids, oh, I need to have a weapon on me at all times. No, that's not the case. And that shouldn't be the case, because now at these youth football games and sporting events and stuff, now we're going to have to start having to resort to having gun policies and stuff at these events, because we don't want another situation like this to happen again. Because, it is just senseless violence. It's got to stop at some point, and it needs to stop right fucking now. It has to stop now, because resorting to violence is not the answer. Violence is not the answer. Be a good, disciplined human being. Learn right from wrong. If there's a disagreement, okay, you're going to yell, you're going to scream at each other. Okay, I get that stuff. But do not resort to actions that you're going to regret for the rest of your life, because Aqib Talib's brother is now suffering those consequences. And taking a 43-year-old head coach's innocent life over a game of football that we all love. Sports is one of the things that we love in life. We cherish it. We love watching kids grow up and being role models to kids of this generation. And that's what makes great athletes, is disciplining yourself and learning from your coaches, learning from your offensive coordinators, your defensive coordinators and stuff like that. And, and your trainers and stuff like that. Hey, what if you did this? What if you did that? Stuff like that. Not resorting to senseless, stupid violence. This is ridiculous. These kids go to escape from from reality just to go to a game. And now they can't even do that because of this jackass doing what he did. It is ridiculous how this happened and why it happened. And it needs to stop now. The senseless, stupid act of violence has got to stop. Because violence, again, we're going to keep preaching this message until we're blue in the face. Violence is not the answer to resolving issues. If you're not happy with something, resolve it with words, not with guns. It is just very heartbreaking how everything happened. And Kevin, like you said, love your parents, love your children, love everybody around you, because this world has gone crazy. Because we all love our family and friends. And I think that people that don't understand that need to understand that now, because loving your family, your friends is very important, because you never know what could happen. You never know what could happen.
Exactly.
Any given second, it can happen.
Exactly. And I understand the concept that actions speak louder than words, but when you take your actions to the extreme to where it ends up tearing a family apart or taking someone's life, that's when you know that actions are not always as good as it seems. And it's sad. It's
Very
really,
sad.
really sad.
And when we get the latest updates on this situation, we will keep everybody posted. It's just, man, just insane how this all happened this past weekend over there in Texas. And our thoughts and prayers go out to the family, that were and friends that were affected by this tragedy. And just very, very sad. Very sad how this all happened. And before we continue, once again, folks, you can follow us on Twitter at ON_sports show, Facebook.com/Nation Sports Show, and also on YouTube, YouTube.com/Our Nation Sports Show. Also, follow the Nation's Corner on Twitter at Nation's Corner, and everywhere else on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. It is at The Nation's Corner. And catch Nation's Corner live at this Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific, 6 Central. And with that being said, we're going to move on to a little bit of baseball. And Joey, I know you got a lot to talk about your Atlanta Braves, because as of right now, as of speaking right now, they are second in their division.
Yes,
and they're
indeed,
playing
they
the
are.
Mets. Yep,
They
they're
are.
playing the Mets right now.
They are indeed, and I've been keeping tabs on the series that started last night, and so far I have been really impressed about what I'm seeing from my Atlanta Braves, because even though they had a very extensive rain delay last night in Atlanta, they were still able to wallop the Mets all over the field by a final score of 13-1, and now tonight they are ahead 3-0 going into the top of the 5th inning. So I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Atlanta. Now, do I hope we keep this up and probably get a 4-game sweep of the Mets? Absolutely, because if we do get a 4-game sweep of the Mets, we will only be a game and a half behind them for first in the NL East. So I would love for that to happen. And seeing as how we're playing the Mets in one more home series right at the end of the season, as long as the Braves continue to keep playing like they're playing right now, we could eventually challenge the Mets and possibly take the NL East for a 4th straight year. And I would love to see it happen. I would love it, especially now since we're calling all of our minor leaguers up to the big leagues. I mean, we've called up 7 minor league players this season, and every single one of them has made absolute amazing strides in the big leagues. Players like Michael Harris II, who has hit 12 home runs this season. Players like Vaughn Grissom, who hit a home run in his first major league game. And of course, the fact that Spencer Strider, oh my gosh, long live the mustache. Spencer Strider has been mowing these players down left and right. I mean, yeah, he didn't really get a chance to see a lot of action in his start last night due to that very extensive rain delay, but Spencer Strider, I mean, he's one of those guys who has pitched 6, 7 innings, and he's mowed down 10, 11, 12 strikeouts. And I'm just like, yo, this dude is freaking awesome right now. And plus the fact that we're going to be getting Max Fried back from the concussion injury list soon. We got Mike Soroka, who's finally on his way back. He had his first rehab start down in Single A earlier today, and Soroka pitched 3 innings. And, you know, typically in 3 innings, you face 9 batters, which is basically a whole lineup. Do you want to know how many batters Soroka struck out in his 3 innings down to Single A ball? 8. He struck out 8 of those 9 batters that he faced in his Single A start. So I'm hoping Soroka comes back to the main roster, to our main pitching roster soon, and I hope he brings that same fire that we saw out of him down in his Single A rehab start. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Atlanta, and I hope we can keep this up. I'm hoping.
Yep, and as of right now, in the top of the 5th, it is Atlanta all over the Mets, 3-0. And that's a very critical series, and we were talking about that series last week on the show, talking about how this is a critical series for both the Mets and the Braves, because this will decide who is going to be in the top of that division. And also you got the Astros leading their division, 75 wins on the year. The Yankees leading the AL East at 72 wins. And it's no surprise that these 4 teams are neck and neck in their divisions. Go ahead.
Absolutely. And speaking of the Astros, we are welcoming them to Atlanta for a 3-game series this upcoming weekend. So I'm looking forward to that series too, because it'll be a World Series rematch of last year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to that.
That should be a very good series between Atlanta and Houston, and that'll be I think that'll be a split series. It could go either way, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And we're getting so close.
And especially since Will Smith, the reliever that we traded to Houston earlier, back when the MLB trade deadline was going on, he'll be coming back to Atlanta, and he'll be seeing all of his old fans and everybody that cheered for him over the years. So it'll be an emotional homecoming for Will Smith. So who knows what's going to happen?
Very much so. It's going to be a very good series between Atlanta and Houston. Last year's 2021 World Series matchup, Atlanta winning that series in 6. And it'll be a very good series, I think, down there. I think it's going to go 2-1. Who knows who's going to take that? I think it might be Atlanta. I'll side with Joey's Atlanta Braves in this series. It'll be a good series, 2-1 Atlanta. And man, it's been a very, very hot year in baseball, especially for the Mets and the Yankees and the Astros. And man,
I don't know. Things haven't really been so high for the Yankees lately, because they've been on the struggle bus as of late.
Yeah, they have. They've been on the struggling bus, and who would have thought that the Mets would take some games against them? But the Mets are not.
Yeah.
The Mets are not doing Mets things right now, folks. The Mets are playing very good baseball right now. It's gonna be really interesting when we get down towards crunch time when the playoffs begin for baseball next month into October. Especially those wild card matchups. Like those wild card games they're wild. They're very wild.
One full month left on the schedule. So my question now is, who wants it more?
Exactly.
Who wants it more?
Exactly. And it's going to be a rather interesting, finishing with the baseball year, because when you get down to that final stretch, anything can happen. I mean, the Yankees can falter, the Mets can falter. Who knows what the hell's going to happen? And next week on the show, we're going to have, like I said, the final preview week of our NFL 2022 season previews as we preview the NFC East and the NFC West, or as we call it, the NFC Least. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
Hey, Steven, I want to say one thing. And speaking about baseball,
go ahead.
I don't know if you guys seen it. I thought I mentioned it before, but man, we talk about the shooting and the football incident and how tragic that was. Yes. But there's 2 tails into this tape, because just the other day in the Little League World Series baseball, the pitcher hit the batter in the head by accident, throwing a wild pitch, and got away from him. And how about the pitcher was upset? He was hurt because he thought he hurt the batter. When the batter went to first base, he called timeout. He went to the mound and gave that pitcher a hug and said, "Hey, man, you're doing a good job. Don't worry about it. We're all good." They showed him some love. Now, that is the great end of this world. There are still some decent people in this world. That's such a heartwarming thing that happened. It had to go viral, because that was one of the most best sportsmanship moments you could ask for. Nobody told that kid to do that. He went by himself off of first base and gave that kid a big hug and told him it was okay, that he was doing a great job to calm him down. That is the good world of sports.
Exactly. And I hope that teaches people what to do when situations don't go your way.
Just let it go.
Exactly. Because life ain't perfect. Nobody's perfect. Just be better. Just be better humans. Love one another. Be grateful to one another.
That's another thing going on too, you guys. And if y'all haven't checked out that Little League World Series here in the next week, you gotta check it out, man. That's some good baseball to watch.
Think of how many major leaguers got their start in the Little League World Series, and look where they are now.
Yep. That's true.
Exactly. And man, it's been an awesome show with you guys tonight, and talking about all things football and a little NBA, a little MLB, and we're gonna wrap this bad boy up. And Randy, final thoughts.
Hang on.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Joe. Yeah.
I do want to bring one thing to you guys' attention real quick.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to what's going on in the UFC, but we have got a huge match, a huge fight coming up this weekend with the UFC, with one of the, I think it's the UFC flyweight champion, Usman, defending his undefeated streak against the man who he has beaten one time before, but yet has a 9-game fighting win streak in the UFC, that being Leon Edwards. Usman versus Edwards Part 2 is going to happen Saturday night, and I'm telling you, that is going to be one hell of a fight. I cannot wait to see what happens.
Definitely.
Man, that's going to be an excellent fight. Man, like the UFC's been putting on some really good fight cards on pay-per-view these last couple of months and stuff. Just bangers.
Yep, this weekend is UFC 278, and that is going to be the biggest fight on the card, Usman versus Edwards, and I cannot wait.
Good deal.
Man, I love doing this show with y'all. It's been a great show as always, and we're gonna wrap this bad boy up. And up first, Randy, give your final thoughts, brother.
Hey, great show. Always great hanging out with you guys and talking sports. And it's sad that we have that little sobering part in the middle there, at the end there about the senseless violence. But like I said, that's neither here nor there at this point. But I'm glad I get to hang out with you guys and talk sports. Great takes by you guys as always, and I'm just happy to be here. And hope everyone has a great week.
Joey?
Amazing show with you guys. The NFC South, the NFC North previews were top notch as always. I'm looking forward to the NFC East and NFC West next week. I love the fact that we had that interesting discussion on violence at sporting events. I think that was really needed. And and of course, we got another full slate of preseason football this upcoming weekend. So if you're a football fan, enjoy some NFL football.
Exactly, my friends. Kevin?
Man, it was good having a great discussion with you guys about the NFC North and the NFC South, and also the realistic gun violence in sports. It was well needed to talk about and discuss. And I enjoyed being on this show just like you guys. And like Joey was saying, preseason football's ramped up this week. And, oh, yeah, just breaking news. The Dallas Cowboys have been eliminated from playoff contention already in April week 2. But anyway, and also, don't forget that if you're a gamer, Madden 23 dropped today. The early pre-order dropped today.
Oh, Lord. Another loss by you online with the Jets against the Dolphins.
If anybody wants to get beat, then y'all can add me on the Xbox Series X at Dubs910, and I'll be glad to put a beating on you with the Cougar Hunter and the Jets. I will use the Jets and guarantee a W. But anyway, it was good talking sports with y'all.
Yeah, whatever. Lose again.
Y'all have a good one.
Man, what an awesome show with you guys, and we look forward to having Ezra back on with us next week, and hope you had an awesome time, brother, with family, enjoying yourself and having a good old dinner. And man, next week it is the final preview of our 2022 NFL regular season as we preview the NFC East and the NFC West. And then, folks, in 2 weeks from today, it is the official predictions of our 2022 NFL season. Who we think is going to the playoffs? Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope someone can win a game, but not Aaron Rodgers. And also who we think is going to the Super Bowl. And looking forward to that, and man, just so glad that the football regular season is about to get underway. September the 8th cannot get here fast enough, folks. And man, what an awesome show with you guys. Once again, shout outs to everybody in the chat that was there, including your boy, what's his name, Randy? Drawing a blank. Your boy, Carolina Panther fan.
Big T.
Big T, thank you.
Yeah, Big T.
And
Big T got me. Big T is the man. He got me beating up Brady and retiring him. So
well, let me tell you
we'll
something.
go with
Let me
that.
tell you something. Hold on, before we go off this air, I would not be reminiscent if I didn't bring this up. But Big T, no offense, bro, but Carolina is not going to win the NFC South.
Sorry.
Come on, bro. Come on. Let's be realistic here. Baker Mayfield is not going to save the sinking shitty ship that is the Carolina Panthers. I'm sorry. And Sam Darnold, he's not going to be good. The ghost will be haunting him for the rest of his life in football time. And Cam Newton doesn't have a job anymore. Haha. So suck it. Anyways, man, what an awesome show with you guys. Once again, you can follow us on Twitter at Owen_Sports Show, Facebook.com/Nation Sports Show. And also follow us and like and subscribe to our channel here on YouTube, YouTube.com/Our Nation Sports Show. And also follow the Nation's Corner on Twitter at Nation's Corner. Everywhere else on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, it is at The Nation's Corner. And with that being said, for Randy Giron, for JT, not Justin Timberlake, but Joey Thornton, and our buddy Kevin Rory, I have been Stephen Wyand, and we will see you next Tuesday, same time, same channel, for another outstanding edition of Our Nation Sports Show. Take care, brush your hair, throw some napkins in the air. Have a great rest of your week, and have a great weekend, everybody. Peace.